You've seen the work we put in and day out, challenging myths, debunking old wives' tales, and exposing poor breeding practices. Ugh. We spent years researching, studying, and applying real-world experiences to perfect the art of science of breeding. Why? Because you deserve the best, most accurate information out there. But to keep this mission alive and growing, we need your support. If you found value in the Bred to Perfection live show, take a moment, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our content. It may seem small, but every like, every subscriber, and every share helps us reach more breeders who need to hear the truth, who want to learn what it really takes to create, maintain, and improve high-quality strains. This isn't just a YouTube channel, it's a movement, and you're a vital part of it. If you believe in what we're doing, if you want to help others discover the power of true breeding, help push this channel to the top. Like, subscribe, and share. Together, we make a difference. Thank you for standing with us. Now, let's get to work. Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. Starting with a cock from one breeder and a hen from another breeder, no problem. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl. Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders Academy, and I'm here with my wife Nancy, and our special guest is Peter Brown. What's up, Peter?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. Same old, same old. Different day and time. How's that go? Same people, different day and time, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
I was telling you, it feels weird. Tuesday. So what's
Kenny,
new?
you need to put Brian up. You need to put Peter up on top.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good idea. There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I was actually thinking about that when the pre-show slides was going on, but I couldn't do it then. So, yeah.
It just shows more of my messy office. That's all.
Yeah. So, yeah, Peter's going to come on. He's on right now. He's going to come on again another month, and we've got some topics we want to talk about. If you have any questions, make sure to go to his website, First State Vet Supply. Just go to www.firststatevetsupply.com, and he can help you with any questions you have about health and disease prevention, and he can help you with the medications you might need too. So it's good to know. So yeah, we're gonna have Peter on a couple times for the next 2 months. We're gonna have Dr. Gallardo. We're gonna have Brian Reeder. He's planning on coming on. We got a really good topic. It's gonna be on variation, the causes of variation. And I think it's going to be a great conversation. It's going to lead right into selective breeding in a really cool way. Shoot, how do I want to do this? I'm so lost today.
Why don't you talk about registering for the Breeders Academy? How about that?
Are you sure? I can't even get the stuff out today. Okay, so if you want to join the Breeders Academy, this is a good time to do it. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Once you join, you're going to have instant access to the website. That's going to include the Founders Program, the Masters Class videos, members roundtables, programs and courses, all the videos and audios we did for our live show and our podcast. You're going to get daily articles, expert advice from Brian Reeder, Peter Brown from the shows, Dr. Gallardo, and we also do coaching calls. Again, just go to www.breedersacademy.com, and we'll see you there. Peter, this is going to be a really interesting topic. We were talking about it in the green room, that although I've never seen this, and I really didn't know it as the metapneumovirus.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And we know it, most of us know it as a swollen head disease, right?
Swollen head syndrome, yeah.
Yeah, syndrome. Okay. Although I've never seen it, I've heard of it. But once I talked to Peter about it, he wanted to do a show on it. I did some research, and man, this is a bigger deal than I thought. There's more people talking about it. There's more people who are dealing with it. So yeah, let's talk about it. What is it, first of all?
That's a very aggressive virus, along the lines of the infectivity of infectious bronchitis or laryngotracheitis. Spreads very, very quickly. A lot of morbidity, conjunctivitis in the eyes. So that's where they look at it. You know, laryngotracheitis can start out in the eyes. Today we don't see laryngotracheitis with a lot of blood like we used to see years ago. Most of the stuff that I see these days is because people are using too hot a vaccine, so they get the vaccine strain rather than the actual field strain. But so you would differentiate from those viruses, mycoplasma and such, in order to get a diagnosis. Probably the best thing to do is to run a sample to a lab and get something done along those lines. But it's really deadly for turkeys. I mean, it's no fun for chickens, but it's really deadly for turkeys as well. It's nothing new. It's new because it's making a comeback. It first showed its face here in this country in 1997, out in Minnesota, Colorado, about that way. But right now it seems to be in quite a few different places. It was also in Canada, and places north, and anywhere where they're raising turkey seems to be the big crux of it.
So is it affecting turkeys more than chickens?
To my knowledge, right at the moment, yes. Yeah. But chickens have been affected by it as well. So, and you can get into all the different strains, different variations, and they're usually labeled with letters A, B, C, that type of thing, and requires a laboratory to make the differentiation.
But that determines the country they came from, right? Is that how the A, B, and C? Is that how they look at it by the different countries?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly don't. Like I said, I've never seen it. I've always read about it, heard about it. Know that it's here. Even way back, it wasn't a big deal. But evidently, it is a big deal now because they have imported vaccines from Europe to combat it. So that means that it's getting into their pocketbook quite a bit from that standpoint.
Yeah, it's weird because I have two. One I came up with was subtypes and distribution, which is broken down into countries, Europe, North America, and the D was misunderstood, or they didn't understand where it came from. It was unknown. And then I got another one here. It says geographic distribution. It's like type A. Let's see. Was detected in California, in Arkansas, and in type B. Wow. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Michigan, and Maryland, where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in broilers. And then in Texas and California too. And then B was, no, I got that wrong. Oh, and then C is Colorado and Minnesota. And that was in 1997. So that's how they're distinguishing them by their types from where they came from, I think.
Right, but at the end of the day, you won't know until you take it to a laboratory. You might not even know you have it, or what you have actually. But so that's it's one of the reasons I suggested to you that we at least bring it to the forefront so people when they start running into problems that they can't solve.
So is this as far as putting it under a microscope? Okay, if they got it broken up into types, like type A, B, and C.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are they going by the characteristics, the symptoms, or what they see under the microscope?
What they see under the microscope, or
so they're different.
Or how it grows out in a petri dish that they're working with.
Okay.
Do they have an origin for this virus?
Not that I read. I'm not sure. My excuse me. My guess would be it probably started, maybe in Europe or something like that, and worked its way here. But I don't know that for sure.
And do they possibly think that this is a not per se a new virus? Because you said 1987 they've
97.
97 they've had it.
Mm-hmm.
Could this be a mutation from a different type of virus at that time, that it's like mutated and now it's gotten really bad? Or
I don't think so, because the types are the same. They're not adding a plus or anything to those. I just think it's one of those things that why is avian influenza the way it is now, which is we just had 2 flocks, one in North Dakota, South Dakota, just last week. So it's coming back again. It's going to be. It's here to stay. This one may be here to stay. I think that's what they're trying to do now by vaccinate to keep it from spreading. And but the small flock holder backyard folks aren't going to be able to get that vaccine. You get a special dispensation from the Pope to get that. And
I don't want it. I don't want to have to vaccinate my birds.
No,
to me that's a Pandora's box. Yeah.
I think so too. But it's and again, you have to differentiate between like I said, laryngotracheitis, bronchitis, MG, MS, all of those. And it also depends on the viability of the birds. And what I mean by that, certainly in chickens, birds that haven't been immunocompromised. You know, one of the diseases that we don't normally talk about very much in the small flock holder backyard situation. I know there is a problem with some people in Gamefowl with it, but that's gumboro disease, which is infectious bursal disease. Really, if you want to look at it, it's kind of like avian AIDS because it destroys the bursa fabricius, which is the gland that is located at the very tail end of the intestine of the chicken. And so upon necropsy, if you didn't want to open a bird, but you wanted to look at the bursa, you would just gingerly cut down through the oil gland, and with a gloved finger, put your finger into the cloaca and pop it out. It looks like a little white multi sectioned marble. And you'd be able to look at it, and you would cut it open, and it's like folds inside, and sometimes you'll see little specks of blood in that. And so with that particular disease, all the B cells and T cells for the entire immune system are produced there. That's why it's important. So if that's compromised, even back in the day, early days when we first had vaccines for it, the vaccine was worse than the disease because it would hit the bursa really hard, especially if you were giving it to them when they were young. And they've got a lot of different strains now. That's there's all different strains of that as well. But
so when they do vaccinate birds for this particular one, it's mostly commercial, you were saying, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That will be able to vaccinate. At what age are they vaccinating for this?
I'm not sure. There wasn't any information that I could get readily available on it. Probably young though, because I don't see doing it later. My guess is going to be somewhere around maybe a couple of weeks old, even earlier. It just depends on how they're going to end up giving it. I think the one that I read is in the water. The other one is a killed vaccine. Okay, it just depends on that aspect of it. And I have no idea what the cost of it is. I wasn't able to find that out. Probably could if I pressed a few people, but become a nuisance to them. They'll
tell me. I need to know.
It spreads pretty rapidly, bird to bird. There's no evidence as of the research that I read, which was pretty fresh stuff, that it spreads through the egg easily. So.
It spreads through the egg?
Vertical?
It does not. There's no evidence to show that.
No. Okay. Oh,
okay.
No. That's all we need is another one that'll spread through the egg.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
But you can understand it if a bird has a compromised immune system, with the gumboro, whether it was vaccine induced or natural exposure. And because I know back in the day, I know some Gamefowl people that were using the gumboro vaccine. I never sold it. I didn't have any place in it. To me, the more vaccines you add when you don't really need them, you're just asking for trouble. And they complicate matters. Infectious bronchitis is another one. Some people want to vaccinate for that, but it's a very volatile vaccine. And if you usually those particular vaccines, when you get into Newcastle and bronchitis, they are layered. And what I mean by that is, and again, things may have changed, but in the commercial egg laying industry, there were at least 4 of those given, one building on the other. 2 milder ones and then 2 stronger ones, both on the Newcastle end and the bronchitis end. And it also depended where they were. Some people probably didn't use hardly any of it, but most birds were vaccinated that way. And then they were followed up with a killed Newcastle bronchitis vaccine on top of that. So it all really just depends. Depends on what you. I don't recommend anybody vaccinating for anything unless you really have a need to do so. And that goes for Merrick's and anything else. If to do it willy-nilly is just kind of stupid, waste of time and money. Cause yourself more aggravation, and not knowing how these things work as far as Merrick's is a big deal because people don't understand it. That you can't get the disease from the vaccine, but you can help spread it if you have, if you're using it because you have the infection on your premise and you get it under control, which you will through vaccination. Those birds will shed it. You sell something to somebody else, you're going to shed both. The vaccine virus, which is non-oncogenic, isn't going to do anything, but you're also going to shed that wild type, and that's where the problem comes in.
Merrick's is pretty much ubiquitous, right? I mean,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
just
there are places around where
some aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is somewhat age related. As the bird ages, it's less likely. Also depends on the viral load. Even if you have it on your premise and you hardly ever clean, dust down the chicken house, you're liable to have issues with it.
Yeah.
From some of these symptoms that I'm reading here that we have on the outline, how do you know the difference between this type of virus and AI per se? Because they're somewhat similar. Just the lab. That's the only way you're going to know.
Yep.
Okay.
If you have something that you can't control with first off, most of the time, but not all bacterial things spread slowly comparatively. So this is like bronchitis and like LT, and it's going to spread very quickly, bird to bird. So if you come out today and you've got a respiratory issue in the flock, maybe just a handful of birds, and you come out tomorrow and it's the majority of them, you've got a problem, and it's more than likely a virus. You'll not know which one, and at that point, it doesn't really matter. What it is to find out for sure what it is.
So let me just ask this one more question, Kenny. So through this virus, the chickens are going to drop dead just as fast as the
No,
AI.
They're going to become exposed and show symptoms.
And the mortality will pick up very quickly. Okay.
So
but not as fast as.
Oh yeah.
But not as fast as AI, because AI they can die in a day, right?
Yeah, I would say that AI is probably one that's going to take them out quicker.
Okay.
Because they can recover from this one. Some can.
Some can. I think by the time you get anything into them, and the other problem with it is it invites, almost all viruses invite a secondary bacterial infection, usually E. coli, which is an opportunistic bacteria. So it's everywhere as well. It's within the bird's body. As long as it stays down in the lower part of the intestine, it's usually not an issue. But when birds get sick, like humans, everything starts to fall apart. And
do you want to talk about the symptoms so they know what to look for?
Yeah. Okay. So conjunctivitis, which is involvement of the eye, the conjunctiva of the eye, the tissue around the eye. I think we've all seen birds online at some point where the tissue around the infraorbital space, which is the sinus cavity around the eye, is so swollen that you can't even see the eye. So you might see some of that. You'll see discharge from the eye, swollen head, and you may see these come on at different times. It just depends. But the amount of virus that is there is going to dictate to how quickly it's going to spread. But those are the symptoms you're really going to see, and again, those go hand in hand with LT, which would, like I say, we don't always see blood with laryngotracheitis. And bronchitis, you get a lot of conjunctivitis in the eye. You do get swollen heads with that as well. So it's something that you want to when you see it in your flock, you need to get some sort of diagnosis on it. I mean, I hope we never see it in the small flock holders and such. It's we don't need it. We've got enough issues out here as it is. So,
Kenny, let me ask this: if you think, okay, so if you go to a pen on your yard and you see that some birds are symptomatic and you move them 40, 50 yards away from the rest of the flock, do you think that the rest of the flock could be safe?
As long as you can initiate one-way traffic. In other words, if you've got a chicken house that has any kind of ventilation fan-wise, hopefully be blowing the opposite direction of where you're keeping the others. I would get them as far away from it as I could, because it is aerosol. It is going to be spread, through the air. So I wouldn't guarantee it. I would certainly try it. Viruses are tough. They're tough. They spread a lot easier than a lot of the bacterias.
Yeah, I don't think you can give them antibiotics to cure it, because it is a virus. So.
Well, that can be a false feeling too, because you give them antibiotics and you're tackling the secondary infection, and you look at them and you say, oh, they're getting better, and you keep up, but they never get better. They just keep dying. And,
well, that would be the only reason to give the antibiotics, is for the secondary infection, but
but you might not know that up front.
Right.
Most people are going to look at it, and because I get it every day, what kind of antibiotic can I use? Well, you have to try it and see if it works. That's the thing. It doesn't always work.
And that doesn't mean getting the birds out of the flock and bring them into your house to give them comfort and watch over them inside your house.
That's
Guys,
so
I see that on social media quite often. No, that doesn't mean you bring them into your house.
I wouldn't bring it. I don't care what the conditions is. I would never bring a chicken into the house. You're looking for ways to get you sick, So
there are a lot of people that do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a dog. It's not a cat.
Yeah.
So the other thing that comes to mind with this particular disease, in trying to decide what it is. So if you're looking at avian influenza, the birds they back off their feed. These birds will do the same thing, and most birds with viruses do that. Okay, and again, that's why they recommend you get some sort of a definitive diagnosis at the end of the day. Might have foaming in the eyes, which again goes back to the other two diseases. You could see the same thing with the bronchitis. You could see the same thing with just a good old E. coli can cause swollen head syndrome by itself. So you get foamy eyes there too. You might have a runny nose, and that stuff can cake up around the nose, the nostrils, and so on. And generally speaking, in 3 to 5 days, you're probably going to see this everywhere if it's this particular disease. And keep having to go back and qualify this. You have to make a definitive diagnosis as to what you really have, but it acts the same as the others, and avian influenza, LT, bronchitis. So
do we know how long the virus lasts off the host? How long it survives?
No, I don't. Lots of times I don't care about those things. They're immaterial, and if you have it, the smartest thing you can do is clean the place up, wash it all down, get all the dust and dander out, lighten the viral load within the house itself. So it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Most viruses, will disinfect pretty quickly. So
let me ask you this: if they recover,
mm-hmm.
Do they become carriers? So can we catch this at the shows?
I believe they do become carriers to a degree. I can't say every bird will be, but survivors more than likely. Usually they do. LT is the same way. Bronchitis is the same way. It doesn't dissipate. Bronchitis is a weird one because it can look like it's gone away, but they're still harboring, and it has a tendency to recycle itself back through the house again, come back and haunt you again.
Yeah.
So
Josh is asking, can they gain immunity? Maybe acquired immunity, but that's not the kind of immunity as breeders we want. We want genetic immunity, genetic resistance to the disease that can be passed to the offspring. But if they survive, they would be immune to it after that, right?
Yeah.
So
their offspring would be more valuable than the parent. Well, wouldn't they have the immunity from the parent?
What you want is when, let's say, the disease hits your yard, you want the birds that never got sick from it. The birds that got sick and recovered, they're not going to help you one little bit. That just means they're not going to get it again. It has no effect on their offspring. But if the ones on your yard are drinking from the same water bowls, eating out of the same troughs, and around the other chickens, they never get sick. That's genetic resistance right there. That's what you want.
Okay, well said.
Yeah.
So it takes roughly around 3 days plus to develop within the bird, and sometimes will last for a very short period of time, and then it seems like they stop shedding the virus after that, if they survive. So it's kind of a mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get. It's just have to play it by ear and do the testing to see what you have. I think there's a couple of key things, going off feed might be one of the early symptoms before you actually see any kind of mortality or any of the other things we spoke about, the conjunctivitis, the foaminess in the eye, snotty noses, caked up mucus on the nasal nares, mortality and that kind of stuff.
Man, I'm looking at all the diseases it can resemble.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot. I'm telling you,
It's
that's
a lot. Yeah.
It's almost every respiratory disease out there. So if someone gets it, most people won't even know they got it.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
And to certainly, secondary bacterial infections will come along. You can help the birds survive by taking care of that. So an antibiotic is not out of the question.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what you just said, Ken, is exactly what Sonny was saying. How do I know the difference from all these different other viruses? And I had asked this earlier, Sonny, in the podcast, and Peter said, got to get it tested.
Yeah.
What and in answer to that question, it was just on the screen. Okay.
Put it back.
Mycoplasma does not spread very rapidly. It's a slower spreading disease, where this avian metapneumovirus spreads very rapidly. And in just a matter of days, 3, 4, 5 days, you're going to have a whole lot of birds that are sick. Mycoplasma, not so much. Part of that reason is because mycoplasma is a mycoplasmal bacteria. It's not a virus. That's number one. Number two, it has no cell wall. It's easily disinfected against, and that kind of thing. So the rate of spread is going to be slow there. I wouldn't guarantee all of that. Again, going back and looking at birds, most people are not going to know if their birds have been compromised unless you constantly have sick birds. And that could be birds that are always having diarrhea, and that kind of stuff. So you just don't know. But mycoplasma does spread slower, has no cell wall, easily disinfected against, doesn't live very well outside the bird's body. It's host dependent, meaning it gets its nourishment and its everything it needs to survive from the host. So it's totally different than the virus. So I think you might be able to tell, but I don't think I'd hang my hat on it. I'd do some testing as soon as I had and a lot of people I deal with, they know what they have, and every fall or whatever, the mycoplasma starts or whatever. I have people that vaccinate for LT, they do it religiously. And the problem with the LT vaccines, there's two that are available, and one, and you'll know this by the price, because you can't really buy the tissue culture vaccine at a cheap price. It's much more expensive to buy. And the other ones, which are chick embryo, which are hot, and they will actually really give you a form of the disease, which that's where we see some mild bleeding in the trachea and that kind of stuff. A lot of conjunctivitis can come from the vaccine. And it's also from people taking shortcuts, wanting to put it in the drinking water, being too lazy to go around and give it, eye drop or intranasally or something like that. And
I hear the vaccines for ILT.
ILT, infectious
ILT. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a pain. That's why I call it LT. Leave the other part out.
I think that's what threw me off, actually. I hear they're horrible. They give you the disease.
Well, that's the chick embryo one, and like I said, you'll know that by the price. The price is about half of what the other one is, and people buy by price. And not very many of the people that are out there selling the vaccines know the difference. I have a whole dossier here on the LT vaccine tissue culture. I know what strain it is. I know how it was made. I know how they ran the tests. So speaking from that strength, that I do know the difference. And I, having worked in that field for a while as well, I've gained a lot of knowledge over the years over those types of vaccines. And it's just too hot. The other ones really, in my opinion, should be taken off the market. But that's just me.
If they vaccinate for ILT, do they got to keep vaccinating once you start? You got to keep going, right?
Let's go through that real quick while we're talking. Because so with the chick embryo, you basically do. With the tissue culture, if you decide to stop, you can stop. And the reason for that is, and I have, again, in that dossier of information that I have, it doesn't spread bird to bird, and that's key. So let's say you start out today vaccinating your birds. You got 200 birds you need to vaccinate, okay? You start out and you got 50 birds done, and you get sick. You just can't continue, whatever the reason, okay? Just to give you a scenario. You can actually stop. You'll lose the value of the vaccine if you've already got mixed, okay? But those unvaccinated birds are not going to get it from the vaccinated birds, okay? And I see that play out in real life. So some of the people of my local fancy chicken club here, they will go to shows all in the same trailer. Some vaccinate, some don't. And the ones that vaccinate use the tissue culture, which doesn't spread. So if the vaccine was like the chick embryo, which does spread, the other birds would get it just by riding in a trailer with them because they'd be shedding it most of the time. Okay. And the reaction is much more severe too. You get a lot of conjunctivitis in the eye. I usually recommend people stay out of the eye in the first place. Just put it in the nostrils, just fine. And then, there's a lot of labor involved in vaccines, especially the oral ones that you're going to give. Because if you're going to do it right, then it's mixed in with has a little bit of blue dye in it. So you're supposed to go around after you're done and open their mouths and look for the blue dye in the roof of the mouth. That means it actually got in there where it belongs. Same thing with Fowlpox. You're not supposed to just stab them in the wing and walk away. You're supposed to come back in about 10 days and see if there's the scabbing over the two breaks and stuff to see. Otherwise, you don't know whether you did it right or not. And the truth be told, people don't pull out enough feathers because they think they're hurting the bird, okay? And vaccinated feathers don't equal a vaccinated bird. So, yeah, but we see it all the time. The vaccine didn't work. Well, how'd you do it? Did you follow the directions? Well, kind of, and we go through that a lot.
I think
the plumage wiped the vaccine right off the fork.
Well, since we don't vaccinate here on our farm, it goes through the nostril, not through the. Why doesn't it go down the mouth?
You could probably do it that way too. I can't see any reason why you wouldn't.
But you know what? It going through the nose and then going back and seeing it in the mouth. I mean, for sure that
it's obvious. You'll see it. It's a dark blue. Yeah, it's a dark blue. And but everybody wants to take a shortcut. That's I have a sheet that I put out on the vaccination, how you're supposed to do it, and most vaccination failures are one of two things: improper vaccination and improper vaccine handling. I catch a lot of flack from people saying, "You charge $19.50 for a cooler." Okay, but my cooler, between depending on what vaccines are going in it and the ice packs that go in it, weighs 7 pounds, 8 pounds, 9 pounds when it goes out. And you buy it from someplace else, and they take one little tiny ice pack and put it in this little thing and send it off to you. And what good is it to spend $60-$70 on a bottle of vaccine and you get it, and it isn't worth having. So that's the other thing. Vaccine.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's vaccine failure and failure to follow directions and all of those things. The same thing with this vaccine. If it were available to people, you'd have the same thing. The improper use, don't read the directions. Like we were talking pre-show, right? With a bottle of oregano, right? It's right on there.
Mm-hmm.
But call me up and ask me.
Yeah. Just so they're not vaccinating for things that they don't need to vaccinate for, such as this one. Can they call their state extensions and find out that's an issue in their area? Do they have that?
They could. Yeah. Why not?
Well, I wouldn't want to vaccinate for these things unless I knew for sure I need to.
Well, there's all vets are not created equal in their how should I say this? In their love for chickens. There are those that will look at the gamefowl community and look down on it.
Yeah.
Here in Delaware, where I operate out of, the Dr. Wes Towers years ago, who's retired. I think I don't even know if he's still with us now. He's been retired for quite a while, but he made friends with them, and that way he always helped them. And they probably had some of the healthiest birds around because he was a really good vet, knew his stuff. He'd go out to their place, he'd look at the birds, and they'd do different things. And so if there was an outbreak here for LT, he would know where they were, and he could monitor that. You don't always get that everywhere else you go. Okay, you get that thing of you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, the judgment stuff, and even in backyard chickens, the fancy chickens down in Virginia. Can't remember the vet's name now, but he made it very clear that if it was up to him to make the rules, that people wouldn't have any chickens.
I'm finding more and more that the universities and the extensions in the various states are they're more helpful to the gamefowl than you would believe. And I think it's because they're afraid if they lose this connection, they're going to lose track of what's actually going on. So they actually are more helpful for the gamefowl community than you would think. That's what I'm finding.
It hadn't been over the years.
No, I get that.
I'm not as connected to them as I once was.
Very,
very little. I help anybody that comes along. I don't care what you do with your chickens. It's not my business. It's my job, as I see it, is to keep them alive and if possible and whatever, educate.
Yeah.
Do we know why this virus affects turkeys more than chickens?
It's a weak bird, first of all.
Yeah, turkeys. Mycoplasma is very deadly for turkeys.
Yep.
That's why you go down to Carolinas, they won't let you vaccinate for mycoplasma at all. You have to, even LT, you have to get special dispensation from the state vet in order to do it. And they're much weaker when it comes to
catch everything and die quicker than chickens.
Yeah.
That's amazing that you say that, because out on my route when I think
that's different, Nancy. Those are wild. I think that is different.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, 20 turkeys out there living the life and healthy as can be.
Yeah, I have the same thing here.
Yeah, they have adapted to their environment.
There you go.
I think the turkeys we have are, I'm into inbreeding. I think inbreeding is a great tool. I don't think people should shy away from it for the most part. But the turkey breeds that are out there, I think they're overly inbred. I don't think there's as many families or strains out there than there should be more. You know what I mean? I think they're just the way they're bred and kept, and the few people that are actually doing the breeding. I think that's one of the reasons why they're so weak.
I think they've always been weak. I mean, it's since I've been doing this, I've been doing it a long time, as you well know, and I've always found it to be true. Very, very weak. And that's also in the chickens. A lot of people be mad at me after I say this, but I mean, silkies are one of the worst. I mean, beautiful bird. Don't get me wrong, I love them, but geez, look at them cross-eyed and they flip out and die. Well, they do,
Oh, boy.
And I do believe that's because of the. I don't think the gene pool is as big as everybody thinks it is. That's my take on it.
Well, on the flip side of that.
Hold on a second, Nancy. Because they're a very specific breed that you can't just add any bird into them to improve them. So they have to be kept within a tight line Other than, we have other chickens, even Gamefowl, they're breeding in new birds from other American gains to Old English to Spanish to Peruvian to Asil. We're at the point now we don't know what the hell's in them, and they're probably the hardiest bird out there, health wise, but they have no identity. Well, Silkies are one of the most tightly wound breed out there because of there's no other breed you can put in them to improve any of the traits. So I think that's what it is.
I have actually had a guy down in Florida that kept them just for fun. He liked them. He had a special room built for them, and he felt like he should do maintenance and stuff. And I told him what I thought he should do and stuff. And every now and then, one bird would just go into a tailspin and just die. No good reason whatsoever. Took it to the state vet, couldn't find a thing wrong with it. Just whatever we were doing, just didn't like it and corked off. And that was it. But I find out a lot, with them. And, but like I said, they're nice birds and pretty birds. You get the really good ones that some people have, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So Kenny may have already answered this, but on the flip side of that, what would you say is the healthiest, toughest, that can live through anything bird, chicken wise, breed?
Ones that haven't been around for forever and bred into oblivion. Barred Plymouth Rock for the most part. A Langshan. Don't have too much trouble personally. Involvement with cochins and that kind of stuff. But the brown leghorns, the white leghorns, they're pretty hardy and pretty healthy from what I can see. I'm just judging by what people. I don't even know some of the newer breeds of some of these people. I can't even pronounce them myself. But all I can tell you is they're weaker than all get out. I mean, you just some of the stuff that's coming in from other countries. There are now issues with them, and more people get them. They breed them 9 ways from Sunday, sideways, and everything else. And just because you have a flock of chickens and you have males and females does not make you a breeder. So I think that's where a lot of those issues come in. Seabrights are really fragile. Some of those smaller breeds.
I think American game should be, because of how much crossing they do. The breeders aren't very careful of the birds they're using to breed. They're breeding sick birds to sick birds.
Yeah.
And then they're using medications and vaccinations to hide the symptoms. So on top, they seem like they should be very healthy, but underneath they're weak as can be. Yeah, which shouldn't be. They should be some of the healthiest birds out there, actually.
Yeah, the other one I haven't had much interaction with from a health standpoint. And I know a few people that raise them, the Cubalea. Beautiful bird. Yeah. Seem to be very hardy.
Same that I've seen with the Egyptian foamy.
Oh, they are very healthy birds.
We had a flock of those at one point years ago. Maybe 15 years ago now, Kenny?
Oh, it wasn't that long.
Those guys were hardy as heck. I'm telling you.
Yeah, they're
until somebody gets them and decides to do something nutty with them, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they were something. They were hardy.
There's this thing now to make oddball chickens that have different feathering and stuff. People seem to like. I can't even name the breeds. I just think it's crazy.
Frizzles?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. I just I just see them as being unhealthy. Those are the ones that I usually end up seeing. I won't say frizzle per se, but there are one that comes to mind. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of them out there that are healthy. But I also see a fair amount of the Bierfelder.
Oh, Benefelder, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I can tell a story on that. Years ago, when I was doing the New Jersey show, an older gentleman is deceased now. He brought them over and eggs from Germany, and he bred them. A pretty bird, you know, a big bird, and he was just proud as a peacock about it. And he brought me over to his pen that he had on the floor there with his birds in it, and he said, you know, look at them. I said, yeah, they're really pretty, and you know, and I'm looking at them and looking at them, saying, you know, adjust my glasses and stuff. And I said, can pick up that bird and let me handle it? And he said, yeah, sure. So he reached down, he picked up the bird, handed it to me. I said, look at his legs. I said, this leg is thinner than that leg.
Oh,
it was.
man.
It was dramatically, I mean, it was obvious to the eye. And he was devastated. You know, my God, he said, I don't know what happened to the chicken. I said, I don't know either. But it's not right. So it does happen. I mean, you know.
Oh, no, it happens a lot. Yeah. I've done a number of shows where I pick up the bird, I'm looking it over, and they have some serious defects or anomalies that the breeder should have easily seen as he's putting them in the box, and he just didn't. And he didn't notice it till I pointed it out to him. Hey, did you see this? No, I never knew that, you know. and I'm quick to show them whenever there's a defect. Not only do I want them to know why I disqualified the bird or, you know, marked it down a bit, because I want them to know not to breed that bird for various reasons, because they're just going to perpetuate a fault. And so I'm quick. Whenever I see something serious like that, I'll say, whose bird is this? And I'll bring them over and say, do you see this? Okay. I don't know if you know about that, you know, but this is the problem, and this is why you don't want to breed them. It's like when and I learned this from Tony Seville too, is that when you're showing, you're not just judging them. You're not just giving them ribbons. You're educating the breeder too. You're letting them know. You're trying to help them understand their own breed, their own bird, so that they're actually perpetuating a good flock, a good strain, and actually moving forward and actually increasing the good ones. Because that's the sad part of it, is they want so badly to have a nice strain and have a nice yard of birds, but they just don't know how to do it. And they just don't have the eye for it too. Things just get by them that you would say, wow, how did you not see that? You know what I mean? And they just don't. They're so yard blind. They don't, it could be right in front of them and they don't see it.
You also have to have an eye for looking at the conformation of a bird and determining, you know, like in the fancy chicken shows and stuff. I mean, they have the standard, and you're supposed to be breeding to the standard. But if you can't look at your birds and the standard and make that determination that they match, I can't. I do not have the eye. I learned that in college, theory cattle management. Yeah, you know, and everybody knew what the number one cow was, but it's that subtlety what makes them, you know, what makes it number two instead of a one, and so on and so forth. Just didn't have it. Stood there like a nitwit trying to figure it out, and I had it shown to me once by a good friend of mine, Joel Henning, who was a master breeder of Polish, and he was going down the line of stuff and saying, "Look at that bird! It's got kinky back. This has got this. That back's too long." And I'm going, "Wait a minute! What are you looking at? Show me." And once he showed me, I go, "Okay," but it had to be shown.
Oh yeah.
You know, and looking in the book is not going to work for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that people that you know, that breed birds and stuff, you know, that really, you know, go at it wholeheartedly, you know, do try their best to do a good job.
Not only do you need an eye, I agree with that to a point, is that the problem is some people have never been introduced to what a proper bird looks like. They have no idea. They just they've never seen it ever. Some people are really good. You know, they're just naturally good at picking out the right bird. But it can be taught. You know, I think of myself as I have a pretty good eye, that I can walk in someone's yard and I can pick out the good ones pretty quickly and I can pick out the bad ones. But I can't say that it's something I had with me from the very beginning. Tony Seville was one of the best teachers you could ever have. I mean, he understood the breed. He understood the structure of the breed, what made up the breed, why the bird was built the way it was. And he had a way of explaining it to just really stuck with you, really impress you. And I think if it wasn't for Tony, I think I'd have a general idea what a pretty bird is. And a lot of times that has to do with the feather. But like you said, the type and conformation is the most important part. And I don't think I'd have that if it wasn't for Tony. And so I'm seeing like my students in the Breeders' Academy, they're really catching on. When they show me their birds and what they're trying to do, I can see that they're getting it. You know what I mean? That they're really learning and they're really catching on. And so I know it can be taught. I know it can be learned. And although I do believe some people are just quicker at it than others. I do agree with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I had an overly huge interest in it, as far as that was concerned. That breeding of chickens wasn't something that I was overly interested in doing. I'm more interested in the disease end and fixing stuff. That's where
either when I was a kid, I didn't think I was going to be a breeder. My dad brought home a dozen baby chicks. They were Rhode Island Reds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were all supposed to be pullets. And one of them was a cockerel.
Of course not.
One was a cockerel. And it was just because I had some hens and a rooster, and my family gave me an incubator for a present. With that combination, I became a breeder right away, and I loved it from that minute forward. You know what I mean? From that time forward. But if I would have not got, because my dad was just bringing in chickens for a little while just to get eggs. If I wouldn't have got that rooster, I don't think there's no way I would have caught on. I wouldn't have had the interest. I wouldn't have moved it forward. It would have just fizzled by just like everybody else. I would end up doing other things, So
yeah, well,
that one rooster changed my life.
I, along with my father, were the only ones interested in the chickens anyway. And when I went to college, I raised 100 Shaver Star-Crossed 288 white leghorns. I sold the eggs to help pay my way through college. It was a big hit on campus. All the professors wanted them and stuff. So back then it was easy to sell. But yeah. So getting back to this disease, so some of the things you can do is the standard things you would do when any other disease entity is floating around. The less people you have coming to your premise, the better off you are, especially if they have chickens. Keep even for yourself, keep a pan full of disinfect water, and do yourself a favor, change it daily. Stuff that's got 2 inches of mud in the bottom of it's not going to be much of a disinfectant for you. Some things you can do.
Or Peter, if they survive that, then you know that they're hardy as hell. But no, seriously, you don't want that.
Those are the valuable birds. Those are the genetically resistant birds that you can move forward
there
with.
You go.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
You just found them accidentally.
Exactly. Just keep people out. I mean, it's the same things you would do for avian influenza or any other disease outbreak you would apply here. And be silly to sit here and go over 50 different things, but the disinfectant pan can go a long way. You don't know what you stepped in your yard, so that's the main reason why you'd want to do it. But keeping other people out, and those people who sell a lot of chickens have a habit of letting people walk in their coops and all that kind of stuff. And that's, it's the old adage about running across the street in front of the bus. You've been doing it for 40 years, and one day you stubbed your toe and the bus got you. Same thing.
Yeah, but Peter, these are also the same people that vaccinate and medicate for everything, and they give them medications when they don't need to. Also, so they're hiding a lot of things in those chickens. Okay, yeah. So that's their standard mode of operation. Okay.
And a bottle of vaccine can go a long way. You can use it as a disinfectant in the coop itself. You can use it when the chickens are in there; they can breathe it. So you can help yourself a lot of ways. Very inexpensively. You don't have to the finer the mist of vaccine that you use, the better off you are. You also have to realize it is a form of bleach. So in that respect, if you've got black birds, you could end up with birds with white spots. So you have to be careful with it. But it's a really good disinfectant. I really like it because it's very versatile. There aren't many out there that you can spray on in the coop and disinfect the coop itself, and then put it in a sprayer and fog it with the birds in the coop. And for those that don't know, you could take it and mix it up according to the proper directions, and put it in a fine mist sprayer, The problem with that is those cost a little bit, but if you're really serious about raising chickens, it's worth having one. And put it about 30 inches off the floor in the chicken coop. Close the chicken coop up. Make your electrical connection by the door so you are on the outside. Turn it on and wait till let it roll until the coop is, you can barely see the chickens, and let it stay in there for 4, 5, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. They can breathe it. Not going to hurt them. Then open it up and you're done. So,
what do you think about lime? I'll put lime in the ground a couple times a year.
Yeah, hydrated lime. Regular lime does nothing. Yeah, hydrated lime, sure. Now some using this Saturday lime. I know nothing about it, but people, I couldn't tell you if it works or it doesn't work. Its claim to fame is it will do things for you. Where the hydrated lime, you can't let birds walk directly on it. It's caustic, so But I've heard good things about the other one. So if you can get either one, be a good idea.
Kenny, let me ask you this question: if you would it be ineffective or just as effective is if you spread the lime and then you turn the dirt, because sometimes when you have a coop you need to turn the dirt because it's just icky. If you've already spread your lime on top of it, then turn your dirt, does that now become ineffective, that lime, or is it because it's in the soil, it'll still do its magic?
It'll still work. Okay. That's one of the things that people will do, move birds, and where they've eaten up all the grass and everything else, they might disc it or use a rototiller or whatever to till it in. What does is change the pH of the soil. Nothing really can live in it. The pH is so bad. But it's just another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, I'll spray it out real good. I mean, I'll spread it out real good. Then I'll spray it down real good with water. Really soak the ground. Let it
wash it in.
Come back, and then I'll take a rake over it and just plow it up a little bit. So. Yeah.
And you can get that usually where farmers buy their seed and fertilizer and stuff like that. I don't know if feed stores carry it, maybe, but.
Your local Tractor Supply does.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, mine does. It's where I get it. It's cheap.
Yeah, that shouldn't be expensive.
Yeah.
But it's definitely different. If you're using regular garden lime that you're using on your lawn, that stuff takes forever to break down. It doesn't really lower the pH like that.
Can this disease be spread by wild birds?
I didn't see any evidence of that, but I'm sure it can be. I don't think they're that far into this thing. Something that was a flash in the pan back in 1997, and here we are all these years later, and it's showing its ugly head. All of a sudden, I think we'll see more on how that goes. I did read where they think that because it can be airborne and can travel 1 to 2 miles. So that would go back to your question, Nancy, about putting them on the other side of the farm. So it's it's something I wouldn't want, and it's we've already had it in several states already. Although I haven't heard as much lately, I've heard more about vaccination than anything else. And I wrote down somewhere who's selling the vaccine, but it's immaterial. You're not going to get it, I'm sure.
Okay, we're right about at an hour. Do we have any quick questions for Peter that you guys want to ask? Or do we have any final thoughts on this lovely virus that we've got going on among all the other viruses that we've got?
You want to wrap it up, Tony? Pete?
Yeah, I think one other thing, I think that looking at making a differential, I think I read also where, you need to differentiate this between coryza. I think you can pretty much figure out coryza on your own, for the most part. That seems to be more prevalent these days as well. The mycoplasma as well. I think you don't have to be a rocket scientist to do those. But I think when you start trying to figure out AI, infectious bronchitis, laryngotracheitis, that kind of stuff, I think that you're going to get into trouble trying to figure out what's what. So,
Okay,
Have any
sounds
questions,
good.
Nancy?
No questions, but let's remind everybody that next Monday we'll have a new audio podcast coming out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of the other venues where you get your podcast information. Do we know what episode is going to be next Monday?
It should. It's funny because Peter's here. It should be the one we did a while back on rodents. And
oh my gosh.
I was
That's
listening
a
to that
good
thing
one.
as we were editing it, and I was laughing my butt off because we were making jokes, and it was a fun topic actually to talk about. And between the four of us, it was one joke after another, and it's going to be a great episode. So check it out. It's on.
Now, I read an article where I think in that brochure that I put together that I sent to you.
Yeah.
The birth control for the rodents. There's a company that actually put that into play. I'm sure there's more than one, but I happened to come across one, and they're quite happy with it, with a combination of the birth control and the bait. They've got the whole thing under control. It's a big complex somewhere. I can't remember all the details now, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
If you find that information, if you can, send it to me, and I'll add it to the show notes so that people can get that, because I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, they can also call that company and get any other information that they want. I gave you all the company information that I had, which was their brochure and stuff. But I'm sure that to help further their sales, that would help anybody, I would think.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got one last comment before we go, and it's super funny. Poor Sue. She's late because she was arguing with the hens.
Hey, Sue, who won? Who won?
Let us know in the chat who won.
Did you come in because you won, or did you come in to watch the show because you gave up? Okay, Peter, I appreciate you coming on. Certainly. And sharing the information with us. I want to thank everybody for coming and watching. I know this is not normal for us. It's going to take a while for a lot of you guys to get used to Tuesdays. We're going to be doing this for about 2 months or so. So just plan on it. 5 o'clock on Tuesdays. I think next Tuesday, Nancy and I have a topic we're going to do. And I think the following week after that, we're not going to do Tuesday, actually. We are going to do Friday with Dr. Gallardo, because that's when he can do it. We just have to alter our schedule just a little bit. But so next Tuesday, and then after that, it'll be Friday, and then back to Tuesday. Sorry that we're not more consistent, more regular than that. But this is going to be a very strange couple months, and I appreciate you guys bearing with us. Eventually, we'll be back to our normal schedule, our normal time. And that's all I got to say. You have anything to say, Nancy?
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. Okay, so we're going to be on next Tuesday. Yeah. Are we going to be on next Friday? So are we going to be on twice in 1 week?
No, Tuesday. Okay. Next Tuesday, the following week, it'll be Friday.
Okay, got it. So see you next Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. You want to say anything for Peter before we go?
I've got a few different things that I'm working on for the show. And when I have those ready, I'll send them to you. They're different than what things that we've done. So I think they'll add to everybody's knowledge about water quality, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So awesome. See you guys next week.
What? So Christopher is just asking, can you let us know about the schedule somewhere so we don't forget? I will be posting quite often and reminding you guys of when the show is going to be next week, so you won't forget. You'll get sick of seeing me on Facebook and on Messenger reminding you guys of when we're going to be on next. Okay, I promise you I won't let you down.
Yeah, just plan on meeting us next Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
Yes,
that I know for sure. Unless something happens,
nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Thanks, Peter, for being here. We appreciate you much.
Thanks. Take
care.
Appreciate it. Take care.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.